Good evening, good afternoon, good day, everybody. We welcome you to our program this day. We welcome you to our program, Healthy Body with Nurse Allan. And we thank you very much for attending. We thank you for taking time out to be with us and to participate in this program. And as we know, Nurse Allan is from the Philippines and she resides in Canada and she has a beautiful family. So we know that she knows what she'll be talking about. So we thank you, Nurse Allan, for taking time out to be with us on the program today, The Healthy Body, and you will tell the participants, the audience, what exactly you are going to be presenting on today because the program is yours. So we thank everyone for joining and streaming in with us. You are welcome, Ms. Allan. Please go ahead.
Shalom, everyone. Welcome you this evening. Um, it's been in my heart this week, past week. What else do we discuss about? But it come to me last time, previous comments. They want to know about sickle cell anemia or any imbalances like high sodium or high salt in the diet, blood pressure issues. So in my heart, I would like to target most common sicknesses or illnesses that we face almost every day, not only within ourselves, also with our loved ones or friends that dealing with these imbalances. So I call it tonight balancing the imbalances within. So this pertaining to imbalances as to blood pressure, imbalances with regards to our intake of nutrients and minerals that are excess that can be also or too little. What is too little and what is too much? When they're too much or when they're under amount, then it can cause imbalances within ourselves. So there are nutrients and minerals that really can cause can contribute to imbalances resulting to sicknesses. So I'd like to tackle on tonight some specific illnesses such as insomnia or lack of sleep. There's what is causing the insomnia. I'm gonna touch on blood pressure, the high blood pressure, low blood pressure. I also want to tackle on mood swing and night sweats. So as we age, we experience some hormonal imbalances as part of growth and development, aging, and so we want to attain a healthy aging process as we go through age. And also, um, I want to tackle on um, anemia, so low blood, as they call, or anemic. So some ladies would say, I'm anemic, or I'm risk, or I'm prone to anemic. So causing blood loss. So what does involve when there's too much blood loss or there's too much or you know rapid loss of healthy blood cells. Um, I would like to in the past we've been talking about stress and chronic stress and the debilitating effects of chronic stress and resulting to other sicknesses and infection that will affect our lives, in body, mind, and spirit. So I tackled general issues regarding to it. So now I would like to be more specific. Want to hear through the audiences what really are concerned. So these are specifically I want to tackle tonight. It's just from previous comments, previous concerns. Also, I would like to just directly just tackle those issues. So if you have any questions, save them at the end. Again, this is I'm Nurse Juliet Allan. I specialize in cardiology, cardiac nursing. I live in Canada, and I try as much as I can to really help out and share my knowledge, which is gift, a gift from above, and use it for the good for many. And hopefully you will be blessed tonight by my presentation. To start with, I'd like to discuss about normal body response to stress. So what's going on during response when the body responds to stress. So in physical as well as in thought responses, we respond in different levels at the various situations. So when the stress response is turned on, your body may release substances like adrenaline and cortisol. Sorry, I believe I spoiled you with my PowerPoint in the past. Tonight, I don't have PowerPoint, but I'll try as much as I can to really focus on just specific issues. So if you have pen and paper, just write it down. So from some key concerns, save them and take note of them. So as I said, that you would have probably heard in the past, like those sprinters, those runners, you would hear about adrenaline and probably also cortisol at some extent. These are responsible when we react to certain stress, meaning stress that are very challenging or threatening. For example, sudden death, dreadful news, newfound, when you get the news, there is like newfound incurable sickness like cancer and all that. It can be really stressful. So then you expect an imbalance within oneself. So also when adrenaline is released, leads to the arousal of the sympathetic nervous system. It's part in our brain, which is the gas pedal. So when you press the pedal, the gas, then the body is running. So that's the role of adrenaline in the body, which is produced in the kidneys. So when they release in the bloodstream, it triggers the brain to move at a certain or respond to certain stimulant. And then the opposite end is called the parasympathetic nervous system. So I know we're going technical in here, but I just want those two key terms to be simplified. So the other side of it, so the sympathetic nervous system, the part of the brain, is like a gas pedal of the car. So when you press it, it moves. But the parasympathetic is also a counteract, which means it's the brake pedal of the car. So when you brake it, it stops. So it goes opposite. So when there's too much response, the other part of the brain would release hormones to counteract also the when the body is reacting too uncontrollably. So also adrenaline creates changes in the body, such as it decreases in amount when during digestion, and also it increases in amount when they're sweating, increased pulse and increased blood pressure. So we would understand more later on when we discuss more different types of chronic stresses in our lives. So when you are exposed to chronic stress, that means continuous stress. So let's say you go to, like in the morning, you're rushing, you're trying to prepare lunches and trying to iron your clothes, preparing for work, shower and all that. Then there's a certain stress level that you experience. So that includes, and then when you go to work, you experience another stress, which sometimes you meet certain deadlines and you're behind, or you were told to do something that is out of your control or out of your um, work um, allocation or position. So those kind of things. So if you're facing constant stress every day like that, eventually the body have um, chronic or debilitating experience, or go to experience certain sicknesses. One of them are high blood pressure, anxieties, depressions, and also it can lead to addiction. So in high blood pressure, it also promotes the formation of artery clogging deposits. So in high blood pressure, it deals with the arteries. There's two types, the artery and the veins. But most of the time, when you talk about blood pressure, you're dealing with the smaller vessels, which are the arteries. So in the events of unhealthy diet, like high fat, high sodium, there's a possibility that its arteries are being clogged and it stays there and it's become a plaque. It hardens and it's going to cause cell death. And, we can, it can lead to a stroke or severe cases. So it causes that brain changes, as I said, the anxiety, depression, and addiction. It also may contribute to obesity. Why? Because some response to uncontrollable eating or direct towards overeating. More indirectly, also by decreased sleep and decreased exercise or physical activity. So I hope you're following me so far. And I'm going to tackle the first imbalances that occurs to most people, or to somebody, mostly women actually, but it also happened to men, is anemia. So I was just going through alphabetical order. Anemia is an insufficient amount of red blood cells that carry hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a red portion of the blood that gives it a red pigmentation. So without it, the blood would be clear. It also carries the cells that carries, these are cells that carries oxygen to all parts of the organs. So um, within that, the red blood cells now carries the oxygen throughout the body, and also it is one of the most common blood disorders, especially with women. So in mild condition, there's no symptom at all. It can be, you don't feel it. But then over time, in more severe form, you will experience different symptoms like fatigue, like you're easily get tired. So this is due to insufficient blood or oxygen in the blood, elevated heartbeat. So in this event, in anemia, the heart pumps harder and faster to compensate with the blood supply, low blood supply in the tissues. So it's the faster the heart pumps, the more blood it supplies to different organs. So that's why the heart rate could increase. Sometimes you experience palpitations, like you having like fast heartbeat than normal. Anyway, the normal heartbeat is 60 beats per minute. 60 to 80 beats per minute. So beyond 80 beats per minute, that is also already a fast heartbeat. Also, it can cause a person with anemia, suffering from anemia, can have abnormal paleness. So usually sometimes you're pale, maybe you're tired or something like, going through stress. But this time there's all a marked paleness. So on the nail beds, like when you look on their nails, they're white, or they're very pale, and their skin in their face, it's quite pale. And also when you look inside the eyelid, on the lower eyelid, they're very pale. Inside the mouth, it's pale and dry, and sometimes it has patches. And then the side of the mouth can also cracky, like you would see, like some sores or cracks on the side of their cheeks. So that could be a sign of anemia. There's also a feeling of strange cravings. So sometimes especially a pregnant woman, in the case of iron deficient, a pregnant lady would crave for clay or soil. You probably heard that very weird experience of people, like she would be craving for ashes or dirt. It's just that because these are iron deficient experience, that the body would demand for more iron, right? Especially even the vegetarian diets, they don't consume much iron, other than they have to supplement, because most of the iron sources would be in animal sources, like meats, red meats, um, dairy products, and all that kind. But mind you, green leafy vegetables also are great sources of iron, and other pulses like beans and kind of stuff. So, I mean, we can talk about down the road about good sources of minerals and nutrients. So we can incorporate them in diet, especially that we have to observe, um, managing our budgets. So whatever is more readily available and in season, then we can tackle some food sources that is healthier and fresher. And this is what I believe, right? The fresher the food, I am better than good. I think I'm good, but if I believe if I consume fresher and readily and in season food or food sources, plants, vegetables, and the like, I will be better than good, right? So that's what I meant with it. Another symptom of anemia is shortness of breath. So again, you're feeling short of breath because you're trying to catch up with more oxygen demand, because there's already compromised oxygen level in the blood, um, for somebody who's experiencing anemia. Also headaches, again, is decreased supply in the brain. Dizziness, there's all kind of another symptom because of imbalances and decreased oxygenation. Also insomnia. So again, I mentioned before, we will tackle it specifically in a while. Insomnia is lack of sleep or inability to stay asleep, or things like that. So again, if you are deficient in oxygen in your blood, then it's hard to fall asleep. You become more restless and become more anxious. Anxiety as well, the same thing in relation. Also difficulty concentration, um, on our you know with regards to our extremities, you experience numbness or tingling in your fingertips or in any parts of your body. And also restless leg syndrome. So when you're restless in your leg, like you don't know why you're so restless, that means maybe the body's deficient in oxygen. Also leg cramps, Again, the muscles are deprived of oxygen. Hair loss or alopecia. So there's abnormal hair loss, that more hair loss than normal. Usually we shed 100 hairs every day. That's what they said. But more than that, there's like a, I call it obvious baldness. So that means that maybe you're deficient with iron, or you're suffering from anemia. There are other kinds of anemia, and specifically, most of the time, we suffer from iron deficiency anemia. Another one is brittle nails. I said before, because in brittle nails, lack of oxygen, the person who's experiencing anemia, their nail beds or their nails are more brittle and easily chipped. And it's not regular, it's not as nicely shaped and shiny, but they are pale, they're easily break, and they're just more thinner. Again, change in tongue, as I said before, it feels more drier. Other also is chest pain, same like shortness of breath. It can cause also chest pain because deficient in more severe cases, especially in heart conditions. If the heart is deficient with oxygen, it can compromise its function. The heart is mostly actually overall it's the only organ, or I should say organ, that continuously working. It's not stopping. So we have to consider managing anemia. So as I said before, healthy balanced diet, of course, because anything too much or anything too little is not good. So rich food sources rich in iron and green leafy vegetables, fruits. So those kind of things, and just balanced diet really helps. For more severe cases, the doctors prescribe irons, or over the counter, we tend to take in iron supplements in form of drinks or tablets. So there are side effects of iron supplements, but we can tackle that at the end. So usually if you taking all these supplements, it will tell you that there are side effects of it, like black stool or constipation. So just a highlight of the side effects of taking iron. But mind you, it will help, it will aid in more red blood cell formation, or through the iron. And also vitamin B12 helps in absorption of iron, and the absorption of it become more effective if you supplement also with vitamin B12. So in more severe cases, one would be hospitalized for blood transfusions. So he may need a transfusion for red blood cell. So if they ask you to donate or things like that, then that's what they take in the red blood cell. So I want to touch on sickle cell anemia, as was one of the questions before. Sickle cell anemia is an inherited red blood cell disorder. So one inherits this disorder, and what happened in here is that there's not enough red blood cells to carry oxygenated blood throughout the body. Also, they're not mature enough sometimes, and then it's the cell dies, or it's just not enough, or it's not mature enough to carry oxygenated blood. The red blood cells are in here are shaped like sickle, like the farming tool, or C-shaped. Sorry, in compared to rather than the normal size, which is round disc and more healthy cells. But this one, they're crooked, or and also there's constant cell shortage, or healthy red blood cells shortage. The cells die early. Also, when they travel through the small blood vessels, these immature or these abnormal cells get stuck and clog the blood flow, thereby causing pain and other serious problems such as infection, acute chest syndrome like chest pain, shortness of breath, and also stroke. Why? Because it occludes the healthy blood flow, and so there's a decreased oxygenation causing cell death. Sorry. So this is an inherited genes from each. So meaning it has to be both parents carrying that genes. So that's why it's not as often than rare. This has to be if one parent has the sickle cell gene and the other parent don't have and is normal, then they don't necessarily experience sickle cell anemia. So what happens is when they have offspring or when they get married and get married to a spouse, and the child or the spouse is also carrying a sickle cell gene, then their offspring most likely will experience sickle cell anemia. So the child suffer as early as a baby or a toddlerhood. So the cure is there's a couple cure, which is either bone marrow transplant or stem cell transplant. So this is usually done through major surgery because they have to deal with the bone marrow, the ends of the bone marrow to transplant a new bone marrow, or the stem called also the stem cell, which is harvested from a healthy person. The closest relative can be the biggest chance of being a donor because they're both compatible. So we're done with anemia. I want to tackle next is the blood pressure. So the blood pressure, the top number is called the systolic pressure. It represents the pressure when the heart contracts and pushes blood throughout the arteries. So again, the top number is represented by the pressure when the heart contracts or squeeze and pushes that blood throughout the arteries and to the rest of the body. And then the lower number, which is called diastolic, represents the pressure when the heart relaxes and it relaxes between beats and ready to receive the blood that coming from the rest of the body to get more oxygen. So it happens very fast. Sometimes we don't normally even experience any symptoms. So when it becomes symptomatic, there could be either a high blood pressure or a low blood pressure. So the normal blood pressure is between 110/70 and to 120/80 millimeter mercury. So it also, the blood pressure differs in age ethnicity, and gender. So at age, the older you get, the higher the blood pressure. Ethnicity, it's higher in cultures like African American, European, um, and um, so it's lower in Asian um, and Latin American. So it's just one of those. Gender, uh, I believe that it depends on the age and depends on the family history also. And now they say most women experience higher blood pressure than men. Abnormal blood pressure includes high blood pressure. So when a pressure above 120/80, you could say, and it's continuous. So when you're tracking your blood pressure and it's constantly high every morning, so the morning when you, because it determines that the later the day, the blood pressure go up. So in the morning, consistently take it the same time of the day. If you're taking it in the afternoon, fine. But consistently that there's remain a normal pressure, then there's no issue. But then when somebody experiencing sudden high blood pressure, is encouraged to check the blood pressure and in the morning consistently. And if there's a change and there's higher than normal, let's say 140/80, 140/90, every morning, then that means that you are now experiencing high blood pressure. Sometimes it can go up to 200s, and that's very risky. So causes can be due to diet, high salt diet, high fat diet. In high salt diet, sources like processed food, fast food, processed meats, canned soups, bottled dressing, um, packaged sauces also, and condiments are high in salt. If you check the label in the cans or packages, it will tell you how much sodium it contains. So usually, normally, we should be only taking in 2,000 milligram of salt. That means like 1 teaspoon to 2 teaspoon of salt. But nowadays, with easily accessible food, packaged food, fast food, imagine if you have it every day or twice a day, morning, evening, then that's a very high content of sodium. And sodium naturally, it helps in the preservation of cell health and tissues, and it's very important in the heart and the function of the organs. But in high amounts, it can cause abnormalities like water retention, and you become edematous, or there's a sudden weight gain, but due to water. Why? Because sodium or salt attracts water. So the more salt in the body, the more the water is retained. So you will feel probably at the end of the day, you start experiencing swelling on your feet. For some severe cases are difficulty of breathing, shortness of breath, or cough that is like wet. You could hear their chest crackly and wet or wheezy. Or also in most severe cases, is the face is swollen or edematous just due to water retention. But also there's already underlying cause which is more severe, such as heart problem. Also, high potassium diet. Potassium is very important in organ function, especially heart, your vessels. It does very well with sodium because they exchange it creates um, effect, a healthy effect between exchanges in and out the vessels and going to the tissue. So it enhances the ability of the cell to function better. So sources like fresh fruits and vegetables, um, bananas, orange juice are a very good source of potassium. So overall, we always say there should be always a balanced, healthy diet, a low salt, low fat diet. Exercise also helps in correcting blood pressure. Be physically active. They say 150, at least 150 minutes per week, and that counts, or physical activity, that approximately 20 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes per day. So you may want to choose something that you enjoy more, like brisk walk, or cardiac exercise that give you that full potential amount of exercise you need within a short period of time. Achieve or maintain a healthy body weight, because extra weight is extra burden to your heart. So again, it can also be a reason for high salt diet. Remember, I mentioned that salt attracts water. Also, don't eat hard or heavy food or spicy or fatty food late at night or just before going to bed. You can probably need to cut eating more harder foods later in the day or later in the evening or closer to bedtime. So just don't eat too late. Be smoke free and avoid secondhand smoke. I included this because sometimes now, especially in Americas or North America, smoking is a lifestyle. It's not a good lifestyle because it creates, it leads to abnormal cell death from the effects of the nicotine in the body. Also, if you drink alcohol, limit to no more than 2 drinks per day. So, I mean, it's really, like the environment you have, like in the city, if the more, they say, the survey, that the more accessible the alcohol is, the more the population becomes alcoholic. Also, find healthy ways to manage stress. Managing stress, first of all, lowers blood pressure, like physical activity, socializing, or just going outside and taking fresh air, or taking a time out away from noise, away from chaos, away from your stressful work. Laughter also, like taking breaks and check some video clips or some funny stories, or just to or socialize with others. Laughter is best medicine, as they say. So laughing can relieve so much stress. It relaxes your face muscles. It relaxes everything. Your heart slows down from its usual rapid. When it gets faster, then it can get it to relax a little bit and slows down the heart rate. Also, healthy eating. So if you have healthier food choices, definitely they're lower in sodium, they are lower in fat, so it can cause you to have lower blood pressure. quickly to measure your blood pressure, if you have your own blood pressure monitoring device, when you put the cuff in the arm, it has the two fingers could fit under the cuff. If it's too tight, you can get an abnormal high result, and if it's too loose, you can get an abnormally low result. So that's what I meant. So, you know, before you're taking your blood pressure also, you need to relax. You maybe need to wait for 5 minutes, doing some relaxation techniques, meditation, or just, you know, just being mindfulness, noticing the rise and fall of your breathing, putting, you know, how you're inhaling the air. So just focusing more on yourself can slow down your breathing, your restlessness. It can, you know, relax the muscles. And also when you're taking blood pressure, have your arm rest in a flat surface and steady. And then, you know, you may need to wait for 45 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes before taking your blood pressure. That way you will get a more accurate result. And then in the event of low blood pressure, when pressure lower than 90, or with the upper reading, the lower reading can be lower than 60. So any pressure that lower than 90 over 60, and it's consistent, and it can, sometimes it's not a concern, but sometimes it can be symptomatic, like meaning a person that having a low blood pressure can experience symptoms like fainting and dizziness, can also caused by more severe condition, also like heart disease. So in here, the less blood and oxygen flow to the body organs, the lower the blood pressure. For any other reason, it can be also another reason that is not known. So a patient will need to go series of observation and testing. And if they are taking high blood pressure, antihypertensive medication, that means medication that lowers the blood pressure. When they started feeling dizzy, that means that they may be taking the blood pressure medication, but then it causing now to drop. So symptoms like dizziness, fainting, as I said before, dehydration. In the event of dehydration, there's lack or low blood volume circulating in the body. So if you're not drinking enough water, it can cause dehydration, and it can cause low blood volume supplying the rest of the vital organs. Lack of concentration, blurry vision, nausea, means you're feeling sick, your hands are cold and clammy and pale. So when you approach a person, you're looking like you're falling sick. If they're clammy, if they're cold, and they're pale, then they may be suffering from low blood pressure. Also, rapid shallow breathing. It's just to compensate with the demand of oxygen, and again, for severe cases that can eventually lead to hypoxia. That means low oxygen level in the blood. We know that if there's low oxygen level, it can cause cell death. Sometimes it can cause numbness, resulting to like you know, inability to for that body part to function better. So in severe cases like heart conditions, if there's low blood oxygen supply in the heart, because it's all muscles, it can cause certain area of the heart to get less oxygen and then cell death. Fatigue also, I mentioned before that you get easily tired than normal. You're always feeling tired. Also depression. You probably don't know what's going on, but it's all like lack of oxygen in the brain. So managing this, when you feel like you're having always imbalances on your gait or when you're standing up, you feel dizzy and you lose your balance. It's just uh, this need to be managed because you are prone to falling, and we don't want any accidents on those severe cases. So what happens is you should drink more water, at least we've said 8 glasses per day. Avoid alcohol if you're experiencing already low blood pressure. So sometimes when you're lying down, you sit up first. When you get up in the morning, you sit up first and try to dangle your feet, wiggle your feet and move the legs around. That way you increase the circulation and increase the heart rate. And then you're ready to stand up and then observe a little bit, stand up for a few seconds, um, just to make sure that you're steady and upright on your standing or on your posture. So just say slow down and get up slowly. If you are on a blood pressure medication, your physician or your family doctor may be needing to adjust the dose. Again, you may need to see your family doctor. You may need to readjust the dose of your medication. So it is also, as I said, it's good to record and track your blood pressure every morning. So another disorder is insomnia, or imbalances that we experience is lack of sleep, difficulty of falling asleep, or difficulty of staying asleep, or waking up too early, or having sleep that is not refreshing. So we try to, or the person try to see what is the root cause of being not able to sleep. So we treat the, rather than treating the symptoms or taking sleep aids or sleeping aids. So we would rather tackle what's the reason why we're not falling asleep and inability to fall asleep than readily taking in medications that cause you to fall asleep. So every medications, they have side effects and different levels to every user. Management. So again, track your sleep. If there's a sudden change in your sleep or it has been chronic or continuous, consistent in the last few days or then progress to weeks, then you may need to reassess why am I not um, falling asleep or not, or I keep waking up like in the middle of the night or early. It's still like, time. It's not time yet or halfway through your sleep time. So you may need to push back your bedtime or cut back your activity or shut down earlier, maybe a couple hours before your bedtime, like decrease activity level or thinking or eating, things like that, just to allow the body to slow down and adapt to more slower pace of things, so that causes the body to more to relax better and to easier to fall asleep. So for in some cases, it's different. There can be anxiety that the person is experiencing. Most of the time, also we are kept awake of the litany of the responsibilities that coming or waiting for the next day. So make a to-do list of the activities or the tasks you need. Write them down and then leave them for the following day. So that way you're not thinking about them, that you don't forget about the important things that we need to do the following day. So you have a to-do list so it can, manage your day better. Also, meditation, or last time I mentioned about 3-minute breathing space, that is more aware of yourself, your rising and falling of your chest, the air that you're breathing in and going in through your nostrils, breathing it out, as like your sensations. Is it hot? Is it cold? You may need to adjust the room temperature, things like that. Or is it noisy? You may need to, lower down the noise around you. Also, some go outside, a little walk, just to inhale some fresh air and fill the brain or the blood with fresh oxygen. That way, sometimes when we do so much physical activity during the day, that can fill us with more oxygen in our body, and it actually relaxing. Exercise at least 10 minutes a day, as I said before, can be helpful. Also, avoid overly rich or spicy food at night or closer to bedtime. So that way, you don't stimulate the digestive system. You don't put so much irritation that can make the stomach or the digestive system overwork. Also, avoid substances like caffeinated drinks, nicotine or smoking mainly, and alcohol closer to bedtime. Some maybe have other effects when they're taking in coffee. I encounter a few that if they take in coffee, it relaxes them better. But most of the time, the caffeine level, the more the caffeine intake, the more stimulant, the more making your body stimulate more activity or keep awake. Sorry. Avoid screen time immediately before going to bed. So you may need to turn off your cell phones, your devices, an hour before bedtime. And so, less stimulation to the brain helps you more relaxed just before bedtime. Keep the bedroom cold and dim. So sometimes you may need to adjust the temperature if you can, and keep it cold, cool, and dim, so less stimulation from brightness. The last one I wanted to tackle is mood swings or also night sweats, because these are hormonal imbalances. I should say hormonal imbalances causing mood swings and night sweats. So in women, there's a hormonal imbalance, and especially to premenopausal, because of decreased estrogen level. So they experience an abnormal sweating, normal mood swings. It can be too hot, it can be too cold. Night sweats in men, it may be due to decreased hormone called testosterone. This is normally when eating spicy foods also, or hot drinks, especially in hot weather, is also causing excessive sweating. But that's in normal body response. But due to hormonal imbalances, sometimes we can't identify why, even though we're having cold drink, we're taking in cold drinks, we're still having that profuse abnormal sweating. It's just maybe because of hormonal imbalance. So in here, as I said, the menopausal or menopausal stage, hot flashes is the mark or first sign of the decreased estrogen or hormonal imbalance caused by menopause. Another condition for mood swings are excessive sweats. Also, there must be infection going on in the body, endocarditis, heart. It's an heart infection. Yeah, that can cause fever and also abnormal sweating. Inflammation of the bones, also osteoarthritis, osteomyelitis, those kind of things, more technical words. Um, Tuberculosis also, which probably seldom we encounter, but still ongoing, have abnormal sweats. So these are some of the abnormal imbalance or the imbalances that I can relate for now. Maybe you can identify some other imbalances you experience or other experience, by your loved ones or around you. Then maybe you can share them and or email them, give them comments on our next presentation or meeting or session. So I encourage you to continue to tune in and see what's going on Yahweh's Kingdom Lifestyle. So thank you very much. And I hope that you are blessed and you gain some insights and at least resolve some issues or give you some help in managing these imbalances. So again, I thank you so much for your participation. I really appreciate it. And I would love to hear from you and also send in some comments and questions. Would love to hear them. And yeah, so thank you so much. And let's all grow healthier and stronger and age um, well. All right. Thank you. Shalom.